Greetings and good vibes, y'all. I'm your guy, Jontel, back with another episode. If y'all checked out the one before this, Black Talk Sessions with Uncle Mike, then y'all really gonna like this one. This is Black Talk Sessions 2 with Uncle Mike. And we really get into some shit on this episode, I must say. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of gave it to him in the beginning, right? Because we get into black men that's in the closet, and I had to check him real quick, and I might have got a little mouthy, kind of yeah. He Uncle Mike was like, whew. But we go from that, and we go into voting. Yeah, we talk about the two-party system and reparations, and from that we go into black capitalism and how we gave that up for black integration, and how whites gave up their culture or their Europeanism to be white, to have capital. We gave up our capital to integrate. We talk about African liberation and Gaddafi. We talk about money, the housing market, and the global economy, and how they're intertwined in corporations. We talk about presidents and presidents being puppets, Obama being black, and what that means. And we dig into so much, and this ain't even all of it. For real, y'all ain't even ready for this shit, for real. So, you know what? I'm just gonna let y'all go ahead and dig into it. I hope y'all really enjoy. We give it we really it's raw, it's emotional, it's passionate, and it's our truth. It's the experiences that we've lived. So just take it for what it is and really listen to what we're saying, because we really do drop some bombs and some shit. So tune in, y'all.
I'm married, or I have kids or whatever, that they're heterosexual. They don't have to announce that they're I'm a heterosexual male. But if you're getting on television and you're, I'm a gay male, or so and so coming in the press, it's the media who's trying to stir this up because it gets ratings and stuff. But you keep
there's a huge disproportionate of down low brothers in our community, so that comes from something. You know what I mean? There's a lot of unspoken and unsaid
what's
things.
the difference? If they choose to be, so who businesses is that?
No, it's a big problem, because you have tons and millions of men cheating on their wives, having whole double lives, and causing more psychological damage to the queer community than could ever.
Well, you know what?
Do you know how hard it is for me to find legitimate love, because there's a whole bunch of motherfuckers that got wives at home that's trying to get with me, or just have some kind of hookup like I'm just some commodity on the shelf? It's damaging as fuck to our community.
Okay.
And it also causes more division and more distrust in our community.
Don't you have control over that when you recognize that's what the person is trying to get up with you for?
It actually, no, we have no control, because these motherfuckers are coming to our communities and damaging things. We would have more control if they would get the fuck out or come out. Period.
So what you're saying is, as a person,
why can't you just be honest with who you are? It has nothing to do with labels, right? It has nothing to do with saying, oh, I'm gay, I'm telling the world I'm gay. No, it has to do with not being in a relationship with a woman and fucking her up, having all these kids, when you could actually be with the person that you just love and love yourself. It's more indicative of a person not loving themselves, not caring about themselves. But what does that say about our greater society? Why is there so many brothers running around not loving themselves and self-hating by living double lives? That's what I'm getting at.
You're not giving me a chance to respond. Ask the question.
Because that hit a chord. That hit a chord. Because it's something that I've dealt with my whole life that has been very damaging I can as a person that's trying that wants love.
I can tell, but let's bring it down so we can hear each other. So what I'm saying is that the question I have is, first of all, let's not have sweeping generalizations. Let's put men who step out on their wives and goes into the gay community and have gay sex or whatever, and they go back to these wives and kids, and they've had kids. Okay, let's put them all in a group. Okay, and in that group, we're going to have subgroups. We have this group of men who all do the same thing, but we have a subgroup of people, because we have to separate them, because they're all not doing it for the same reasons, right? Now, for an example, you may have one man who's a homosexual, always has been,
Who's a homosexual?
through, depending on his age, whatever, through society, he was always indoctrinated to marry a woman. He carried his family like a beard. He got married. Maybe he tried to hope that being with this woman would change his being a homosexual. Maybe he was ashamed, but he had the secret thing that was going on. Okay, that's one group of them. Then you have the ones who are just simply horny. They're just lustful. They're bisexual. They like the woman and they like the man. They just want the heck they want a dick. You know what I'm saying? For whatever reason, it feels differently.
I know where you're getting, but you're probably gonna miss this one. I know.
Let me finish.
You also got the wives that don't give their man any sex. So they just want sex in general. They don't care who it is. They're not bisexual. They just need. They just need to get their dick.
I don't want to get off the track.
I'm not.
What I want to do is I want us to create the
right. Yeah.
That's all I'm doing.
But you get what I'm saying, right?
Right. I'm building a model, and you put what you're saying in any of these categories.
Yep. I was just giving you one of those categories. So I felt like you might miss that one.
So I want you. So we got these subgroups. Men that do the same thing. Right? Now, what's important is this. What's important is now that this happens and you have no control, they're doing damage, this type of thing. What you have to do as a counter offense, is be so tuned in and sharp with detecting human behavior or reasons so quickly. You got to be faster on your feet that you can stop this before it happens again. Now, as far as this person being this way, there's also a possibility that this person loves this woman. Sometimes sex is very discreet. Sometimes sex should always be discreet. I think there's a difference between saying, hey, I want to have a boyfriend in the gay community and a wife too, just the same if you're straight, and saying, hey, I want to have two girlfriends. Okay, that happens in the gay, what you're describing happens in straight communities also all the fucking time. That's part of the reason why you have a high divorce rate.
This goes back to what we were talking about earlier.
So my whole thing is you're talking about in general infidelity. But
it's being ashamed of one connection while promoting another. Why? Why are you being ashamed of one part of yourself?
But I think it's easy for you to say, since you've come out and you've been out for so long now.
I also know what the shame feels like. I also know what it is to pretend and live a double life.
So the thing about it is, the best approach, even if you're angry about it or protect, the best approach is obviously you need to help that person who's doing this.
No, that's not up to me, and it's not my job. It's that person's job. Just like we were talking about before. That's projecting feelings. Someone else is a DL man, right? Is projecting their own hurt feelings because they're not dealing with their own self-love, self-turmoil. The demons that they have inside is manifesting by living that double life. Instead of dealing with it, a lot of times yes, and a lot of times no. But that's not my point. My point is, instead of dealing with it by being open, it doesn't matter. You can still keep that closed if you want to in certain forms, but just being open with the people that you're hurting so that they don't get hurt.
Have you done a podcast about this?
Not specifically.
Well, I think you should, because it seemed like that if it touches a nerve, you seem very passionate. It's very time to cut the camera off.
But the thing is, statistics.
Because you could help somebody.
Statistics feed into this, and it's all too common. It's one of the ills of the queer community, especially the Black queer community that has a lot of issues as it is. This is listen. This is one of the biggest damaging issues of our community.
What is the solution?
And listen, in general. In the Black community, this is one of the biggest issues is Black men that quote unquote are straight having sex with other men. And this is one of the biggest points of contention when it comes to HIV and AIDS is because they're having sex. These are the ones that are spreading it. Not the gay men, not the Black women, but this is how Black women are getting HIV and AIDS because the DL brothers are infected because they're not telling anyone. They're keeping their STDs to themselves. They're not going to get tested, and they're just spreading it to anyone, especially gay men. The gay men don't care because half of them are so fucked up in the head. They're doing drugs as it is. They're out here doing what's called T, which they call Tina, which is what, meth. They're out here doing that. So half the guys I can't talk to or have sex with because they're on drugs from Tina. They're openly, which at this point, HIV and AIDS, if you're undetectable, you're not spreading it. The technology has come to that point. I take PrEP, so there's no way that I could get it if I have unprotected sex. But at the same point, then you've got these men having sex with these women and spreading it to them as well. And 9 times out of 10, they don't know until something happens and they go to the hospital or they go to the doctor and figure out. But they're too embarrassed to tell anyone about it, so they keep it to themselves a lot of times and don't deal with it.
How about this? How about everybody just jerks off and home? I think that's a fucking solution. Just take it easy, just relax, will you?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So this is the problem.
Or these men could actually do something and stand the fuck up and be a man and deal with their own shit.
It's not gonna happen. It's just not gonna happen.
So we're not gonna hold our own men accountable that's fucking it up for the rest of our community? Sorry.
I'm going to tell you why. Because there's a very reason what you did just now. You went on a rant and you just spewed out the problem, but you've not come up with a solution. So it will stop when somebody is able to come up with a.
But I gave you a solution.
No, you didn't. You gave me anger.
No, I gave you a solution like 5 times.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is
we need to help these unhealed black men.
Okay, but you're not doing anything about it.
Yes, I am.
But you just told me that you're not doing it. You just ranted about it.
Well, okay. So what I am doing about it is having
is that,
like the
specifically to
trauma in the inner child and things like that I
specifically speak to what you were just angry about.
Right.
Speak to these people because sometimes through anger you can't hear the person. So if you could do a podcast that's angry, but your voice inflection is in teaching, and if you just show passion, that you have to stop doing this now. Before you communicate this despicable thing that you're doing, having sex with a man, you're ashamed to come out, you have a girlfriend, you're spreading diseases. All of that can be implemented in your podcast as a factual thing, okay, of what happens when you guys do this, right? But also, it's more important, which would endear the audience to you, endear the people who are violating to you, is that you become something that even they look up to. They say, hey, did you see the Jontel podcast? The Jontel podcast, I was thinking
Montel Williams.
Yeah.
That's actually who inspired me to be a journalist from day one. I used to sit as a little kid and pretend I was Montel Williams. Yeah, he was.
So to do so that Jontel can scold me, correct me, but if you're still my brother, I'm wretched right now, I'm broke down, but my wretchedness, my wrongness comes from someplace, but he doesn't care because I've come in and done damage, fuck you, no. Because if you're gonna complain about something, then you must, with the complaint, have some solution or it'll keep going. So the solution is explain to them the damage that they're doing, right? And why the damage they're doing to themselves, actually. You know what I'm saying? It's not just about me or our community that you're coming in. It's your community too. All in all, we're all a community. You know what I'm saying? There is no such thing. We're all a community. It affects, just like whatever you're saying, I'm not gay, but it affects me. The gay community affects me. I'm the straight community. We affect each other. We're a social community. So the point is this, okay? We have to address these risks. A lot of it is fear. What are you afraid of? I was afraid at one time. I was afraid of one time. Okay, and this is how I handle it. I'm not saying that they're gonna handle it that way, but I think you get the message across because it needs to be talked about. It's people are looking for solutions. Anybody can rant. Anybody can point out, being angry and point out what's wrong. Even in my rantings, I try to end it with a solution of saying, hey, if I'm complaining about the politicians, I'm telling them to throw them out, get rid of them. You got to throw them in the fucking street. What are we doing here? You know what I'm saying? It's just a simple solution. Stop complicating shit. Throw them out of office and shit. And then, election time, you'll always see me. Here's my solution. Well, then, if the politicians aren't doing anything for us, Mr. Mike, we got to vote. No, you don't. That's the problem. You're voting. You can't sit up here and say, hey, this motherfucker sucks and everything. It's because I.
That actually brings me to another.
Send a big to say, hey, we understand the importance of voting, but we also understand the importance of throwing you out. And we're going to throw you out because we're not casting our ballots for none of you motherfuckers. We're going to clean the house. We're going to get some new blood in here. We're going to elect Joe Blow just to piss you off. You know what I mean? There's nobody who didn't have the funding. So we got to start putting these kind of people in place.
You completely missed it. I think when you weren't on the book, I made a post. No, I put a picture up, right? And there's this graffiti page on Instagram, and it was when the whole Supreme Court thing leaked. It said, "We done voting." Now I got a whole bunch of liberals and white suck ups to say I'm pro BLM and all that shit on my page. They were like, "Oh, clutch my pearls, what?" And people were like, "No, we're not." And people literally were like loving comments, "No, we're not." And I had a few people, my radical brothers and sisters, my comrades was like, "Yes, the fuck we are. Two-party system this, and corporate and capitalist this," and they were going off. So then I was like, all right, my people, because I didn't say nothing at first. I just put the picture up and let people go. And like something you kept saying to me, like how I could be very controversial. I've been doubling down on that and leaning into it. Mm-hmm. And it really does get people talking. I don't say nothing half the time anymore. I put something up, and it doesn't say whether that's my actual thoughts or not. I'm just putting a statement up or putting a picture up that describes something and letting you decipher it. And y'all can go ham debating it all you want to. This is the exposure that needs to be had. These are the connections that need to be had. But tell me more about the two-party system, because the whole voting thing.
What I'm saying.
Either fuck voting or let's all change it and vote the way we should be voting, right?
Well, the Black resistance, from my feeling, impression, which is giving proof of it, in the Black resistance. Joe Biden's approval ratings amongst Blacks has plummeted. Kamala Harris has plummeted, right? And the thing about, and then in general plummeted. So in terms of the Democrats are very, very afraid right now. So at first they made us promises they didn't keep because they thought at least if the Blacks don't show up to provide this next go around, at least we know we have the Hispanics, because there are a lot of Hispanics that register as white people.
Yep.
And so the thing about it is they ended up, Time Magazine just did an article and showed that the Hispanics ain't fucking with them either.
Nope.
So the thing about it is they're losing ground fast, and so they're scrambling. They don't have any kind of messaging, right? Now the Black
Supreme Court.
So what Black people said, was this, okay? The Black resistance said, now we want you to pay attention to this, okay? None of this stuff, whether it's Ukraine, whether it's the economy, whether it's illegal immigrants, whether it's the gay community, whether it's any of that shit. All right, we ain't hating with y'all. We're done.
Yep.
We're fucking finito.
Yep.
Fuck you. And this is not for all Blacks. They're good, because we're not talking about Black immigrants. We're not talking about Africans.
Right.
We're not talking about Jamaicans or people who are Haitians who have their own country. We're not talking about them. We're talking about foundational, born and raised
descendants of slaves.
We ain't fucking with y'all.
Done.
Fuck you. Fuck your war. Fuck whoever crawls out of a fucking pothole in Santa Monica Boulevard. We don't care. So the thing about it is we're not voting anymore because you're not giving us anything. We don't want a mixed bag. We don't want to be we're not people of fucking color. We didn't ask to be in this motherfucker. Don't start putting us in a bag with immigrants, because we didn't immigrate over here. We were brought here by slave ships. You owe us some motherfucking money and won't talk about nothing else. Don't want to talk about nothing else. That's it.
Exactly. End of story.
Fuck you mean? I'm gonna get you a job making $500,000 a year as some fucking talking head for me, and I get nothing out of the deal and shit. I'm not going in a poll to give you a job.
First of all, how you gonna tell me I ain't Black if I don't vote or vote for you? That said it all right there.
Listen, I was against this crack.
Oh yeah, me too.
Listen, first of all, and then here's the thing. I think that people thought, hey, the contrast between Trump and him.
Right. Let's just go with this lesser evil.
Cool. Listen. Here's the thing about Trump. Okay, the thing about that I wanted Trump out of office is because, again, he was clearly not qualified. Right? Did I disagree? Was it because of his pronouncements? Absolutely not, because I heard him loud and clear. First of all, he didn't do nothing to Black people that he didn't do to anybody else. True. Okay, I can't say that the man is a racist. I think in his mind, he holds racist views. Of course, they know he holds racist views. But I think he's a white supremacist. Of course, he's a white supremacist. They all are. So the thing about it is, so the white supremacist,
he's an equal opportunist.
Yeah, the white supremacist has a very odd view on race. See, people think it's different than sort of the trailer park racists, okay, or the ones that are walking someplace and shoot somebody.
White supremacists don't want to necessarily kill you, right? They're more just like, we dominate the world, we're the best.
Dislike you.
Right.
They don't even necessarily dislike you.
They just don't want to fuck with you. You stay where you are, and we stay where we are. This is our country.
The white supremacist could work on your job. He's a white supremacist. No, he's not gonna hang out with you. He's not gonna drink beer with you. But maybe on occasion, there's an isolated incident, or that maybe the boss sends you two on the job to do something together. You're gonna strike up a conversation, right? And even if it's about sports, you'll find something in common. He might be a Phillies and Eagles fan, and so are you. We're both from the same place.
Might love the outdoors. So
you strike up the Philly fan. He ain't trying to talk to you, but you know, football, you like football. You can have a little bit of a conversation. Okay. Now, he may generally, you're very well spoken. You know what I'm saying? You're not niggerish in their minds. You're not, you know. And suddenly he realizes he's made a human connection. Okay. Now, his indoctrination sort of, it's this push me, pull me. You know, on one hand, it's like you know, and in any other circumstances, I'd go out and have a beer with this guy. But then on the other hand, there's this sort of, you know, social constructive ideology that I'm holding on to with dear life, that he, you know, I'm not supposed to fuck with this. I'm not even supposed to like him. So at the end of the day, he's fighting his feelings, but at the same time, so they've now, even the Klans say this, they've now come to the conclusion, they'll say, there'll be the Klan person, the Klansman will declare himself a white supremacist, believes in white power, but he said, I have nothing against black people. I don't want to hurt black people. That's the old Klan. I don't want to burn people. I wouldn't do nothing that way. He goes, yeah. He goes, I know some good, nice black people. You know what I'm saying? There's Klansmen who are friends with black people. There's a black guy in a Klansman. He's still a Klansman. He's an old motherfucker, but, you know, they sit down, they play checkers on his porch, and they talk and shit like that. Because you go home. You go back to your black community. You go marry your black wife. You fuck with your black people. You have your own black store. You have your own black thing. You don't come in their neighborhoods. You don't marry their daughters. You don't mix with them. You don't hang around with them. They like white people, but, you know, they prefer their own culture. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that, because that's what the country is anyway. The thing about it is, what they can't articulate is that in this sort of paradigm that we've sort of constructed of multiculturalism, okay, they're still separatist communities without declaring themselves separatists. They pretended they're not, but they are, because they just look at the real
People
estate
forget this is
and
an
they
experiment.
find out who's not living this close to who. Ain't that many niggas in here anyway. So the thing about it is, if I can move further away from the city, you know, or further away from where there's multiculturalism and it's mostly white people, that doesn't mean when they see you or they run into you, they won't smile, say hello, and that is something personal. They just don't want. And see, niggas are like that too. So,
but we're only a couple hundred years in America. Remember, this is an experiment. Human history and human behavior shows we stick to our kind and stay away from each other. Doesn't mean that we hate each other.
Yeah.
Sometimes we do come in contact and we have war and we have battles and we dislike each other because we encroach on each other's space. But human history shows that we keep to our own type of similar people.
But
this really is an experiment.
It doesn't monetarily work. If black people, and this is what it's the same thing as the Nation of Islam, they're separatists. So, and when the separatists legally kept us separate, we flourished in our neighborhoods. We flourished. That's how you got the Harlem Renaissance.
Agreed.
That's how you got you listen, because we
Tulsa.
Okay, so now we don't have nothing anymore. You know why?
Yep.
Because we
integrated.
Yep. So, but we integrated, but we really didn't integrate. What we integrated was our money. And so the thing about
we integrated into a caste system that they threw us to the bottom of.
Right, but we also integrated our money.
Yes.
Because our money no longer circulates in our community. It goes to Walmart, it goes to them. They just come, they just
it
put us
literally
in places
evaporated
because they understood what the Jews understood before the white folks was doing that shit to us. The Jews understood. See, during the times when you look at these old movies and shit, like how these old doo-wop groups like the Temptations and stuff like that, Motown, all of that shit was backed by fucking Jews, okay? The only way a nigga could get housing was a Jew. The only way a nigga could get a loan was a Jew, because a Jew, you know, the interest rates were higher. they would always, what interest rates were highest. But you know what I'm saying? The Jews in Boston, the Jews moved out of Roxbury and Dorchester, and it became the black community after the riots. The Jews moved out. It was like downtown. The Jews, but they kept a hold of that property. And so the thing about it is that what they did was, and in the banks, they redlined you so you couldn't buy the property, but you could live there and rent it as long as you want, and that would be the black community. They didn't own niggas, didn't own nothing. And so the thing about it is, once black money stayed in the community, it was thriving. You had black schools. You had just like the Jews. Now, if you go in Boston, there's a place called Coolidge Corner. That's where all the Jews own that whole thing. Here's Alston Brighton, which is Boston. And when you just step a little bit over the line, you're in Coolidge Corner, which is predominantly Jewish neighborhood. They got their own. That's where they got their own police force. They got their own, it's called Alston Bright. They got their own police force. They got their own libraries. They got their own car places, their own law firms. They got their own hospitals. They got their own clinics. They got everything sustainable in one neighborhood. So their children don't even have to go out of that none of them have to go out of that neighborhood for anything. For anything. And it's right there. So the thing about it is what it is that, are they separatists? You could say that, but they wouldn't call themselves separatists. They just naturally gravitate to it. But what happened is, during the civil rights, we fought, the civil rights generations fought for the right to patronize white businesses. They weren't fighting for the right. And so that's why Dr. King changed his views after the I Have a Dream speech, because he realized what Malcolm was trying to tell him is that we need to own land and property and be separate, and we need, as reparations, part of the United States. You're going to give us our own spot, because we've proven that we as a black culture don't fuck with no motherfucking ghetto. We ain't no motherfucking ghetto, nothing. We ain't come from no ghetto. We don't do ghettos. What happens is, when we got money, you motherfuckers know since the Harlem Renaissance, you saw the Black Wall Street, you know what we do with money. We gonna outdo you motherfuckers.
Exactly.
We some fancy motherfuckers.
Exactly.
And we're class personified. Look, even in our shitty existence, look how we dress. And they know what time it is. You know what I'm saying? They know how niggas do it when you give niggas money. That's why they have the thing.
I was talking about this the other day. Black is art and art is black.
Right.
We are art.
What nigga you know right now with some money is hood like that? They shit this trash on the ground and graffiti. What nigga do you know with a piece of money? None of them live like that. So
these
the whole
communities, like the community with the Jewish people you're talking about,
yeah,
we have small communities of black people like that in America, but again, like Atlanta, low key, they have to stay low key.
Yeah, but it's what's promoted to them. That's a big part of it. Listen, what is repetitively seen by black children, black youth, and other people, and white people, is what view is going to be shaped. What I'm telling you is, how many times on television, what movie, what anything have you seen repetitively that talks about Black Wall Street, that talks about the Harlem Renaissance, that talked about the fancy schmancy speakeasy that was in the hood, but niggas was in tuxedos and dressed to the nines, and you had motherfuckers like, the jazz bands and shit, and you had some motherfuckers like Calloway and people like that. And white people were sneaking in from where they was coming into these black neighborhoods and shit to see Count Basie and all of these famous musicians that was in the hood. They was in the cut, but then when they walked in there was champagne, there was class personified, my brother. So the thing about it, we never lived like that. That persona of the ghetto, they tried to get.
That's what they've imposed on us, because that's what they were used to.
That's what they imposed on us. Not only that, they imposed on that, but they made sure by bankrupting those communities. And so the thing about it is, we start building them up because we want that. Just like I said before, I grew up in a black suburb, so I know what a black suburb looks like. And the thing about it is, this culture, the culture is really heavily in how people behave is heavily dependent on what they own. If motherfuckers listen, our attitudes change immediately. You own something. If you own property and land, you know what I'm saying? I'm not saying everybody's gonna be nice. I'm not saying there wouldn't be arguments or fights, but what I'm saying is that there will be definitely law and order to protect that which you own. That's just a set agreement. I can't have. Hey, motherfucker, you ain't. Mr. Jontel ain't home, man. Nigga, pick that motherfucking can up. Don't throw that shit in his lawn, cause it makes my lawn look bad. Get what I'm saying? We keeps up, and so the thing about it is, I've been in black suburbs before, and they off the hook. They outdo any motherfucking outdo any mother, and you know how we is anyway. So the thing about it is, our shit outdoes any of them people. Those people don't want that.
On that note,
They don't want that.
on that note though, and then going back to like the two-party system in corporate America, with all these, like, white people can't even hold on to their shit anymore. And you think about eminent domain on top of it, and like all these corporate entities coming in and buying up. I was just watching this one thing this morning. They're hitting the trailer parks now and buying them up underneath people's feet and rising the rent, kicking people out of trailer parks. It's not enough for them to buy up homes and rent them out to people when they can be paying mortgages on them.
Have you looked into who are some of the investors that are doing this?
These are big time corporations, but I haven't
not
looked
just
them
that,
up yet.
but
What?
but
Go
big
ahead.
time corporations that are owned by foreign entities. The United States is cut up in like a pie. Arabs own a piece of it. China owns a piece of the United States. It's not run by. It's not run by America. It's global. America is run by a global market. It depends on the global market. They sold America out years ago. If you think that you're going to look for if you're looking for breadcrumbs, you're going to have to travel all over the motherfucking world to find out who the fuck is dicking you. Even in the real estate market, Arabs own some of these. They because you have to understand. You know what I'm saying? You remember when the big real estate scam that came out, and what they pretty much did was selling. And again, because there's a war on us, right? And the war on drug was a war on us, right? So they got us in mass incarceration.
Now it's pretty much a war on all Americans.
Okay, just stop with the all Americans. No, it isn't. No, it isn't. No, it isn't. It's made to appear that way. No, it isn't. It is, but it isn't. Okay,
right.
Stop with this. Focus on black people.
Right.
Okay, because we are always the case. Because I see the problem is this illusion of empathy, this empathy that you're all that we're all in this together, and constantly, and that's why the brother Tariq, the black professor, the black authority, everything, they just pound and pound and pound and pound and pound and pound in people's heads that you have no allies. It's not all of us. But what I'm saying that these fucking people did, they turned around and they made sure that black people, what was I saying about
we're talking about the global world
right.
has bought up America, basically.
So the global market. So let's look at crack cocaine, for example. Okay.
You were talking about the war on drugs, and then you said
the war on drugs,
right.
Crack cocaine,
right.
Shit coming from
Colombia, South America,
and it filters through Mexico. Okay, 60,000 tons of the shit. And so the thing about it gets into the black community, But they proved that the CIA
was doing it.
Yeah, it was doing it. Okay, all right. And so the thing about we know that whole thing, and Ricky, Highway Ricky, whatever his name was, we know that whole story, right? And so even the reporter was murdered, okay, behind that fucking story. So the thing about it is that, and it had some shit to do with Reagan and Nicaragua and all over North, all that shit was behind. But it ended up, who paid the price for all of that was niggas. This shit was happening all over Nicaragua, all over the world. So then, you know what I'm saying? And then another thing too, Middle Easterners, they come over here, they know how to exploit black people, right? You go here, you see a lot of guys there's a place up there, niggas go in there all the time, and Puerto Ricans, and they sell fried chicken, do-rags, bong pipes, and blunt wraps, okay? And they park their fucking Middle Eastern asses right here in the middle of there because they're gonna nigger you to death. You understand? You're a nigger. You want to do rag because you don't own anything. And then they take that money and they go live in another suburb. You see what I'm saying? And they filter it out of this community. The Asians do the same thing. So globally, China understands what niggas like. You know what I'm saying? So that they're constructing clothes and cheap material so that niggers can be niggers, because they understand that the one thing America has are slaves, and these are these black motherfuckers that are setting trends and making these, so this is what they're doing. And then, like, this is why the Asians think it's wonderful that they can sell niggers hair that come off of other people. They can sell niggas hair and nail and do their feet, because these black bitches in the black community ain't got sense enough to pool their money together and kick their asses out and open up their own nail salons. Can't do it. You know what I'm saying? So they can sell you guns. Oh, they like guns. Niggas like killing each other. So there's a gun market. So the things that you can do. So we pay for our own oppression. And so the thing about it is
sure do.
And so this is the fucking problem. And so the thing about it is, I'm just saying that globally, this is a global thing, because again, Arabs own part of the shipping docks out here.
That's a gem right there. We pay for our own oppression.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to cut you off.
Yeah,
that just stuff.
The Arabs own a lot of the loading docks out here.
Sure.
You have companies that has an American name, but the investors are foreign investors. See what I mean? Bring
that back here. What's that saying for us as Americans, especially Black Americans? Like the bigger picture here.
Well, we're not. I mean, we're not fucking Americans. That's the thing. This is Malcolm told you that years ago. We're not Americans. We're not Americans. Malcolm said, "Listen." Malcolm said, "Why y'all keep calling yourselves American?" He says, if I'm sitting at just because I'm sitting at the dining room table, and he says, if there's no food on my table, that doesn't make me dining. How we Americans? You know what I'm saying? You got to give us a taste for us to be able. We have to have an investment area. We have to own something in America to be really your status as a citizen and shit. It's just, you have very tentative status here as a citizen, because
we're not citizens.
Because the truth of the matter is that generally no, because at the end of the day, if 83% of you is in prison, right? If 83% of you are in prison without the right to vote, without the right to walk the street, 83% of your black asses, and then they leave the rest of you motherfuckers out here. You know what I'm saying? Struggling and shit. You know what I mean? And then there's a large percentage of you that are walking around the street with felonies. You know what I'm saying? Felonies. So just because you're on the street,
counted in that too.
Yeah, we counting that in, and plus the ones that are in prison. And so this is what you got in this little 13% population that we're trying to destroy. And it's such a small population. You're getting lighter and lighter, and you're
diluted.
You're diluted. You're diluted to the point where we won't need you darkies anymore. And the darkies that we do let come in here will be mostly darkies from, like, say, Africa and that type of thing that that want to emulate you and will continue to. Africans are easily great betrayers. They'll betray each other no matter in a heartbeat. Africans have no real loyalty.
But that's because Africans are a continent, not a country. So you're gonna have different people from different countries, different races, different ethnicities.
But Nigerian motherfuckers, they love white people.
Right. The colonizers don't understand that, and the Nigerians and other countries understand that. They're all elevated in that sense, and they think of themselves in that elevated sense, I should say. They had their own caste system in Africa. I had cussed one out one time on Facebook because they all think they're better than us.
What you always do? And I said, man, fuck out of here, man. You don't remember? I said, listen. He was always criticizing Black Americans. I told motherfuckers, I said, listen. I said, first of all, these Black Americans you keep talking about, I said, your black ass wouldn't be able to be here one for us. You're an immigrant, nigga. You know what I'm saying? I said, the ones that came before you came on slave strip, came in and kicking and screaming. So at the end of the motherfucking day, 400 years of that shit, you don't come over here and tell us nothing. And so that's what I'm saying. I resent the shit. Not that they're all like that, but it's just, some of them can be that way. You know what I mean?
I just find a disconnect. There's this older man who I do have a lot of.
A cigarette. I'm gonna have a cigarette, then I gotta get back to work.
Hold on, I just want to say there's this older man that I know that advocates for gun violence, and that's a big issue. But the solution is to vote, and I just don't understand I guess maybe you're a rarity, because any other older person I know, that's their solution to everything is vote. But what has voting proved to our community to do? And I feel like people just continue to do the opposite, even though the proof is in the pudding.
Well, let me explain to you why voting is not an option. First of all, first and the most important thing is your vote is an illusion of choice. That's why you have the electoral college. You still got the electoral college.
Yep.
Shit, we have people trying to stop people from voting by doing all sorts of undermining shit to try to keep people from the polls. And the most important thing out of this whole voting thing is this: voting is part of democracy. To have to vote. But the truth of the matter is, again, they can't have democracy. There is no democracy. It's not a democratic country.
No.
It can't have democracy because, like you said, democracy and capitalism doesn't work. It can't coexist together without it imploding.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what it's been doing.
Yep.
You get what I'm saying? Because it doesn't. You can't. Listen. It's at some point where somebody's going to have all the toys.
Right.
So the game's over.
Right.
The game's over. So now that this 1% got all the toys, and we're talking globally, have gotten all the toys, its citizens become less and less viable because they can't live. You see what I'm saying? The amount of greed, and they keep squeezing and squeezing. When the economy is better, or prices go down, or something major happens, it's only because it's eating itself from the inside out, and the economists look at it and says, hey, we squeeze these motherfuckers dry, we can't, there's nothing else left to take. You see what I'm saying? There's nothing left, you know what I'm saying? This country is a used up shithole. If you look around, it's a raggedy motherfucker, because now, like, there's no New York is a cesspool. Nobody, people. New York used to be a place where people want to come from all over the world to see. It's got nothing to offer. It's a fucking shithole.
Agreed.
Because everything is shutting down. People can't work. You know what I mean? It's getting worse and worse and worse. It looks worse and worse and worse. People are renting shitholes and everything. There's nothing nice, nothing to see here. Nothing to see that these people haven't extracted money from and built themselves. Places like Dubai. People want to go to. Nobody wants to go to America.
Actually, no one wants to go to Dubai anymore either. Dubai is actually the biggest scam. It's a big Ponzi scheme, and on top of it, it's the worst of capitalism on display for the whole world. And the thing is, with New York too, on top of it's literally like they're trying to build a new Emerald City on top of garbage.
Yeah.
Like you see all these, you see Billionaires Row? Come on.
It's a shit.
Yeah, totally. And Philly's becoming the same way in a sense. Like, do you see? But I'm saying in a sense, did you see have you been to Philly lately? They're in the middle of a building boom, and there's skyscrapers going up all over the place. And it's just driving me crazy because half these buildings are still vacant. But you've got millionaires moving from New York down here to Philly. You've got people from China moving here to Philly. University City has taken over half of West Philly now. Literally.
Because that's what's driving the local market. So what I'm saying is that you got to pay attention to the players, and the players are not all American.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
There's some names you can't even pronounce in the deal. You know what I'm saying? You ever notice, watch movies and shit, somebody's making some corporation making a major deal, so always these Chinese motherfuckers coming in and they sit down and this is Mr. Chang or whatever, or this is person from the Middle East and shit. Those got money. Arabs, they got shit tons of money and they spend the money in America. They're investments. You know what I mean? Putin got money over here. Putin owns property over here. So Russia owns property over here. You've got a lot of Russians and shit like that. So this is a multicultural global market.
It is.
And
it's
the people that are getting fucked. The flag waving Americans.
That is just a piece of Black Talk Sessions 2. There's actually like 30 more minutes of this episode, which you can catch on Spotify. Just search the Leon Block and it will come right up. In the meantime, check out the rest of the episodes that we have on the Leon Block Facebook page, YouTube, Spotify, Twitter, Instagram. You already know what it is. Make sure you meditate on your path, celebrate your being, liberate your spirit, and educate yourself. I'm Jontel. Have a good one, y'all.
I'm like, God, no matter what it is, give me. They don't want us to succeed.
Black Lives Matter all day, every day.
All day, every day.